Welcome to Powered by Authenticity. Tonight is a really fun episode. So, I've opened up recently to have people ask me questions. And when I'm on other events, people are always asking little tidbits about kind of my career. And one thing that comes up all of the time is what it was like to travel so much and do I miss it? And what were some of the perks? So, I never traveled really by myself. I always had my little family with me. So tonight I'm introducing my little family to help introduce kind of the response to this question that I keep getting. So with me tonight is Tricia Cartledge. Hey, Tricia.
Hello, hello, hello.
And Michael Thomas Bright. Michael,
Hey guys.
how's it going?
Good. How about you?
Good. You guys want to do a little intro? Tell us a little bit about yourselves. Trisha, you want to get started?
Oh, okay. Let's see. Where does it begin? Tricia Cartledge, PMP, one of the hardest things I've ever accomplished in my career, but one of the most self-fulfilling. I'll tell you, I think it's taken me so far in life, in my career. It was one of those things that I sold myself short with and said I could never do it, but I always put it on my resume. And guess what? I did it. So I was at Cisco Systems and everyone had their PMP but me. So I was hired in and they gave me the option. I would get a $20,000 bonus and a significant raise if I got it within the first year. So I was all in. Literally the next week I was all in, starting a new job and studying for my PMP. And it was really, really challenging, especially with traveling. And I had an offshore account. So I was working midnights and still trying to do my day job and then do the boot camp. So, needless to say, the first time I did not pass, and it was a huge crush. It was Good Friday, and I was thinking, gonna take a Hail Mary. Um, the class is paid for. It was $500 to take the test, and you don't get a refund. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna give it my all. Even though I was sick, I had a fever. It was a heck of a week with a migration, and it's all right. I dust myself off. I picked myself up. I also showed my children who were young teens then, that if you don't always succeed the first time, then you try again. And I ended up, so that was Good Friday. And then I ended up getting my PMP. It was about 6 weeks later, June 15th. I know the date. It was Father's Day, my parents' anniversary. And it was just so sweet for my son to say he had no idea what I was studying for, but he just said, yeah, my mom took this really big test and she's getting this really big promotion. And it just was so sweet because he saw me struggle. He saw the sacrifice. I literally did nothing but study, gave up life, gave up. It was work and study. And I just think it was a valuable lesson for all of us, the children, myself, and everything. Cisco Systems, I'm in the healthcare now. I support a cancer hospital, which I absolutely love. We're doing all AI stuff. It's the peak of technology, which I'm so interested in. But I don't know if I can keep up, it's forever changing. And I'm getting, I'm not quite into all of it. I'm not a spring chicken anymore either. And I don't know if I want to be a forever student, but so far I'm keeping up and I'm loving what I do. I do miss the travel, but yeah, it is a bummer though, not seeing anybody. Because that was the nice thing about it. It was rewarding to be able to catch up with everybody. It was the best of both worlds.
Um,
So thanks for having me.
Of course, yes. And the PMP is unforgiving. I appreciate
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Yes.
Mike.
Yeah. So Mike Bright also have my PMP and will concur. Definitely the hardest test I've ever taken. I took a class. I think it ended up being 36 hours. Went through all the materials and then got cold feet and just never scheduled the test. I finally decided to give myself a date, and I projected it probably too far out. But what I did was just what Tricia said, like literally just ate, breathe, and sleep, study. And I scheduled it out pretty far. So I was literally a robot in that book. I had audiobooks. I would listen to the audiobooks in my car on the way to work. I mean, that's all I listened to. So I mean, I got obsessed with it. However, to her point, it was super rewarding to go in there and knock the thing out. So it's opened a lot of doors for me in my career, and it's definitely helped me traverse some difficult challenges, projects, and that sort of thing. So the knowledge is definitely valuable. I'm actually researching for it right now. I have not let it elapse, thank God. But I still have probably about 28 PDUs I need to get between now and the end of April. So definitely grinding on that. But yeah, gosh, I hate to say this now, but yeah, it's probably 20 years experience. I was comfortable saying 15, but those 5 years have flown by rather quickly. But yeah, 20 years experience, most of that in the healthcare field. I knew I was going to do this IT field at a really young age. I got a hold of a computer that didn't work at about 12 or 13 years old, got some books, figured it out. It was the most rewarding feeling ever to make this really expensive piece of equipment go from nothing to something with just a little bit of effort. So was just eat up with it. Ended up going to college, studied computer science. Had an internship previous to going to school at a hospital. My mom had finally bugged the director enough to give me a shot, and went in there, worked, went away to college, and we came home on a Thursday. We were in the local pub downtown celebrating with some of my buddies that also graduated, and walked my old boss. And I went right to work that next Monday. We ran into each other. He offered me a job right then and there, and I never even had to interview. And was there for about 16 years before I met Emily over at Divergent and decided to jump into the consulting world. And that's where I've been for, I'd say, about 5 years. And most recently, I've started doing a new gig called VCIO, where I'm actually helping consult small business owners and helping them strategically make decisions based on IT, aligning IT to business goals and outcomes, helping them research software, and just kind of being that IT department, for lack of a better way to describe that, in their small business to help them along the way.
That's cool.
So that's me in a long and rambling sort of way.
Well, you said 5 years. I was thinking, has it only been 5? No, it's been longer than that, because if you remember, March 13th, 2020, we were actually in New York City as they shut it down. We had to fly out early.
So weird.
Yeah.
Such an eerie feeling.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember this on that trip. When we got there and we were checking in and going through security, it was like completely empty. I mean, it was like a ghost town. And we did get that 5:30 a.m. flight out of there. But I remember being so nervous and like just bugged out or whatever, just because it was just an empty, LaGuardia was empty, which is it's like The Walking Dead or whatever. It was surreal.
Well,
but we got all the way to the gate and I didn't have my bag. So I'm like panicking. What in the world? And I go back and it's sitting in the X-ray machine. Like, I mean, this was a good 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, just no one came. No one saw it. It was just sitting there. It just so weird.
Yeah, and I remember that week we were in New York City doing a Teams presentation for Mount Sinai, actually.
Yeah, that's right.
So we were walking through the city, and one day the lights were on and everything, and then Thursday night they shut down Broadway. I don't know if you remember that. They were like,
yep. And it was like Times Square was like basically kind of empty.
Yeah.
And that was all anybody was talking about. I mean, it was really weird. I mean, to see New York like in that, like just to be not bustling. I don't know. It was just. Yeah.
It was very weird that all of a sudden everything was just completely dark, and you're like, yesterday was all lit up. So it was weird. But
do you remember going to the Disney store in Manhattan and like trying to open the door with like our feet and like trying not to touch it?
I do, because we had to get your kids. So what's funny about kind of even just rolling into this conversation is that at the time your daughter was so little. So, part of having a road family is you kind of feel like we know your families. And,
Right.
to that, producer Ken's here, and he's heard all about you guys and all of the stories. Hey, Ken.
Howdy.
Hey, Ken.
You remember hearing about these guys?
Well, I just have to say, I think we have the father of the famous Brutal Pancake drummer on the podcast.
That's right.
We do. Is Bo still playing drums?
In fact, we for his birthday on Sunday, he had his birthday on Super Bowl Sunday.
Aw.
So we went to the music shop and I wouldn't call it like, we just gave his drum set a tune up. So we got like new hardware, all new heads for everything. And then we got him a brand new snare drum. So apparently snare drums are kind of like acoustic guitar is good for some settings. Electric guitar is good. Like those snares are interchangeable depending on what kind of sound you want. So learned that this weekend, but yeah, he's way into it. Got him hooked up with some new gear. So
yeah, that was a great moment to have Brutal Pancake. Yeah. My mother-in-law still asks about Bo Bright and how he's doing. She needs an update.
he's doing good. That's too funny.
Oh,
Aspiring baseball player also.
Oh,
but yeah,
I
he's
love
doing
that. And Penny's playing basketball.
basketball and soccer. Yep.
That's awesome. So, do you guys miss being on the road? Do you miss?
I do.
Yeah.
It was the best of both worlds. We got to travel and eat well, wine and dine, but yet still accomplish our goals of working and just, get out of the house a little bit. It's nice. I mean, I like working from home. I love working from home, but it's always nice. I always also like the perks for my son's graduation for his spring break. Literally, I paid for everything on points. Our Delta, we flew for free. We stayed Marriott Oceanfront in Mexico. We had Enterprise for our car. I mean, It was literally, we paid the service fees, and it was a very nice bonus.
Yeah, that was nice. I think one of the best sites was Pensacola Beach.
Pensacola.
Was a rough client. Mike kind of, I think, bore the brunt of some interesting events that happened at that client site. But
I love that beach though. That was a great place to travel.
Yeah.
The pier. Remember we were on the pier hanging out?
So I found a picture of us today.
Yes. I have it too. And Mike, you look great, by the way. Holy moly. There was like your half of what the picture was.
I'm working on it.
Congrats.
That's hysterical.
I'm working on it. The travel or the no travel has probably helped a little bit with that.
That's because it was ginger and bourbons, I believe, it was Mike's cocktail choice of the days.
But didn't you do the IPAs too?
I like an IPA.
Yeah. I thought you kind of changed it up a little bit.
I like an IPA.
Yeah, that was the hell.
I like them too, but they're so fattening.
Yeah, they're not good for you, that's for sure.
Yeah, but they do have a little extra kick.
Yeah, and they give you a little headache the next day.
Well, Emily's rule was always 2 in front of the customer and do whatever you want when you leave the customer, but never more than 2.
That's right. That's right. And so, it's funny because we love that Hilton lounge that was in Pensacola Beach. I think we've spent a lot of time there working and, going out afterwards and having some dinner. Speaking of only 2 cocktails, Mike, do you remember that guy that I hired for the Windows 10 project and he lasted one day and then left to his hot pockets?
Yeah. Yes, I do. I remember that.
Yeah.
Did he go out at lunch and partake?
He closed down like a bar or something. Like the first night on a project, like was like out until like 1 a.m. or something crazy.
Yeah, shut and then was with the client. So he was with the client and didn't show up for work the next morning and everything. The guy didn't even get in the building. I'm like, you're out of here. But he had bought this case of Hot Pockets and left it in the freezer. And the guy said, we're like,
everybody just like started stealing them.
Hot Pockets. It was great.
That was traveling, or that was
yeah, that was in Norfolk. at the island. So that's where we did all the image.
Yeah.
So, but Tricia, I think we had fun when we were hanging out in the Marriott Short Pump lounge. That was our little
Beachside.
table there. Yeah. So that was good times.
Yes. Beautiful
I didn't get to go to
sunset.
that lounge.
Oh, it was nice. It's not as nice now. They've kind of made some changes, but
I thought you came over there, Mike. I know you were a Hilton guy. We were Marriott, but I thought you came over to us a few times.
Mm-mm.
no.
I went over to Hilton with your Mike Bright
Executive
dad.
ambassador pass or whatever it was called.
Well,
I remember
over
that.
there, as long as you had a key, you could get in. So
That's right.
don't you remember you gave me when you
Yeah.
left, you gave me your key. Not that I don't want anyone to think that, I was sneaking into Mike's room or anything, but when he left, he gave me his extra key and I was staying longer or went back or something. But Hilton had a better selection than the Marriott or certain days of the week. And I think it included alcohol too.
It did. Because you picked me up once. I got in late, and you and Mike had been hanging out in the lounge, and you picked me up with a roadie. You're like, "Here, we brought you a
Ocean View too.
Ocean View."
When in Rome.
That was a killer property.
That was great. Yeah. I think one of the other great things about traveling is kind of the people that you meet along the way. And like Tricia, we had that whole crew like in Richmond that would like check in and make sure that you were okay. The concierge ladies.
Well, as well as we knew all of their drama.
Yeah, that's true.
They got to know us so well that we were one of the girls that it was like we were filled in on everything.
Yeah, and you kind of got to know a little bit about their lives. It's kind of fun. And, I think, Mike, one thing that pops into my head and Tricia, I think this was before you joined the project because I think it was just you, Jeff, and I, Mike. We were on site and we went out to dinner and we went to the Outback because everybody wanted a steak.
Yeah, I don't think Tricia was there.
Yeah. There was a pre-Tricia date.
I think it's when we first got there.
You're
when
right.
We first started.
You're right. That was when we had just started like the Windows 10 prep work, I think, or something like that. But do you remember Miss KK? So one of the things I truly miss about the road are the people that you meet, right? And the stories that you get to hear. And I'll never forget that this woman who was just supposed to be our waitress, I ended up offering her a job. She never called. Like, I don't know why she didn't call, but she was in school to, she wanted to get into healthcare, IT. She was like,
That's right.
her grandfather who had just died like lived where my brother was in Florida, and she just had a spirit. So I think I miss the people probably more than the actual travel. Like, Mike, I don't know if anything stands out about that night from you, but I remember Miss KK and having like a great big hug with her at the end because she was just so sweet, and she was going through the loss of it was her grandma that she was going through that loss of.
I remember continually, like me and Jeff would check in to see if she had ever called, and she never did. But like she was almost moved to tears. I felt like, and like she's like, I remember you were saying like, God put this in places for a reason or whatever, and like she had literally just like I think finished a program or something in school, and but yeah, it's weird that she didn't call. But yeah, that was. I remember that she was like, she seemed like she was just like again like right place, right time, but
well,
she didn't call.
If KK is still working at the Outback in Pensacola, Florida, she could still call. Probably still find her something. But I think it was just the right moment. It was like the right time. And I think that's kind of what you find when you're traveling sometimes is you meet these strangers who tell you great stories on planes or who tell you, just a little bit about themselves. And, I think what's fun is when we could do that together. So I think that was a cool part.
The one thing I'll say that, or like, I guess talking about the people piece of it is like you'd be in Florida, like on the Gulf Coast, and you know how things in Florida move. Well, I can't say that about all Florida, but in my experience in Florida, things move a little bit slower than
island time.
Yeah, it's like, and it's if it's 3:00.
Well, and don't forget we were an hour behind too, which was so weird.
That's true.
It was just. we were in Florida. I mean, Florida's our time, Eastern time, but yeah.
Yeah.
It just seemed like things were just a little bit, even keel, slowed down. I don't know. There wasn't a huge sense of urgency compared to like the next week. If you jumped in a plane and headed up to Philadelphia, completely different perspective, different, different culture, different vibes. The way folks worked, just different salutations, that just everything about it, the personalities, it's just, you had to kind of get your game face on depending on what part of the country you're in that week.
Yeah,
So
that's
just
true.
getting that perspective, having to change gears and having to deal with the different personality types and kind of, each geographical location, I feel like has a little bit of a generalized kind of stereotype about how the way of life is. I would imagine. I think, you mentioned island time, right? The city's kind of bustling and busy and direct and kind of blunt, and just being able to navigate that and be successful, and especially when you're dealing with executives and that sort of thing. It's just interesting and challenging and kind of exciting.
Yeah.
Miss that a little bit.
I do too. Yeah. It was definitely fun to switch gears. You're going from the slower pace to just accelerator.
Yeah.
And there were a few times we definitely felt that within a matter of a day, for sure. Yep. Tricia, what about you? Did you miss any one person on the road? Like, was there a favorite like location and perk that you got out of it, other than your points?
Yeah, right. No, it was a lot of fun. I mean, it was wonderful to travel and to see different places. And, we went over the bridge. It was so beautiful. And then there was plenty of times that, it was all very exciting to get the price match, because then, it was a little more expensive. We had to keep in the budget with the customer. So it was definitely a perk when we got to, go and stay in the nicer place, to still conform and keep the customer in mind and with the budget and all that. But let's face it, if we're traveling, we want like top-notch service. We want, we want to be a king and a queen. So it was nice when we could be a king and a queen, other than, when we had to, I think I stayed somewhere not so nice and did not have a concierge room. And I just felt like, Cinderella that lost her slipper, and why me? But it was always nice to, go home to the family also. Like I said, it's the best of both worlds.
So I heard that bridge they were building into Pensacola you just mentioned, like I think it's like 2020-ish. There was a hurricane that came through, and a barge that was out there and just like took it out.
There was.
I heard that too.
Yeah.
And she had to go all the way around.
You did, yeah.
Can you imagine that? Wow.
I was down there. I went down twice after that. And you did. It took an extra like 40 minutes because you literally had to drive around like where the bridge was. Now, I should have stayed closer, but I wanted to be on the beach.
Right. Exactly. It was so beautiful to open the curtains and go on your balcony and just see the beauty, the pure beauty of nature.
Yeah, it was great down there. It really was. Oh my gosh. I have 2 mics on my screen right now. Do you, Tricia?
I do, yeah.
Sorry, I got kicked out.
No, it's okay. It's pretty funny. Oh my gosh. But that whole trip around was absolutely crazy when you didn't have the bridge. So yeah, took forever. And Mike, what was that person's name who was our PC refresh person? Tricia, do you remember this? Where she kind of like, yeah.
Oh my gosh, it starts with a T. I still have her text message because I was told to keep them for.
It was like what did you have to call her, Miss Princess?
Oh, I forget. Oh my gosh, that was so real.
Yeah, I can't. She lost. Yeah, she.
I thought for sure we were going to hear about her on the local news.
I mean, maybe.
I think I may have just deleted her. It started with
I think it was a Tiara
or something.
Tiara. Yeah, but we had to.
I still want to hear the. I know you still can't tell me or whatever, but because of the legality, but I still want to hear the full story on that one.
Yeah.
I don't even know. She
Someday.
just laid down.
That was great.
It was a huge surprise, I'll tell you what, because she was a hard worker, at least, I thought. And it was when we needed somebody most to, take names and get things done. And so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That was definitely one of those interesting people that you meet on your travels was that case. So that's actually probably a good chapter for a book.
Where do you start on that one, though? I mean, in one breath, it was like she was such the hard worker, and you thought this and that. And I thought she was in the military also, or, so she had the respect. Yeah, no, she called us Miss and Mr. I mean, she was the respectful one. I don't think we had to call her Miss, but that's what she referred us to. Respectful names, and then, single mom and yada yada. But sometimes we pull the wool over the eyes, and we wanted to hear what we wanted to hear, and when the cat's away the mice will play. I don't know.
Yeah, it was crazy. Well, I've loved our stories, our reminiscing, and we all kind of I don't know. It was truly like a little family out there, watching out for one another. And I think that if you've never had to travel to that extent, people probably don't realize what it's like. But there's a comfort in knowing that you've got a group of people who are right there for you.
Yeah.
So another point, Emily, that I wanted to bring up is, okay, fast forward 3 years, you and I have gone on to other positions, other companies, other opportunities. And then remember the gal who I had a mutual friend that you worked with, and then one of her family members was ill and she was down and out, and I was going to bring her food or flowers or whatever it may be. I mean, that's a whole nother circle of life of how just people reaching out and being kind, because that's the kind people that we are. So that was another bizarre one.
Yeah, it is.
Not bizarre in a bad way, but it was in a wonderful way, because, I mean, here I'm in Michigan, you're in New Jersey, I mean, it just is so crazy. And the customer was, in a whole nother state. So it's just amazing how everybody can come together full circle.
Yeah. And I do think another part of this is the fact that none of us are still with that same organization that, we kind of all came together under, but we've built that bond. And gosh, I'm just so lucky to still have you guys as a part of my life and my story. And I think, again, you go to work 8 to 5, you get to know people, but there's something special that when you get to, be out on the road and looking out for each other. And, we've highlighted a lot of the fun, but there was a lot of long days and tough things that, we had to deal with at our client sites and our own internal company that we had to get to the other side. And a lot of times, I know I called both of you. I was your leader, but I called both of you because that support that you provided was something else. So I think that's another part of something that I miss. I don't necessarily have that same, type of relationship in my current. I love all of my clients. I'm very appreciative for what I have, but we were always together out there, 18 hours a day, and I think that's just a different way of working too. Yeah.
And then there was another one that you were at the same hotel as my parents, remember?
I do remember. Yeah.
That was crazy. Yes. The small world of that happening. But yeah, unfortunately, you didn't get to connect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of fun. I forgot why my parents were traveling or what have you, and you just happened to be in the exact same hotel.
I was in Tampa. I was at what was the long-term care facility down there, Mike?
Oh yeah, I forget the name. It was in St. Pete, right? Or right in between.
Yeah.
I forget the name of that location.
Yeah.
But I think you had to leave early or something. Your aunt passed, and so you had to reroute your plans and your work. And,
that's
and
right. Yeah.
Yep.
It was rough. But Mike, anything that you can think of being our little family?
I just I liked making my own entrees at that restaurant in Pensacola. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
You get the firecracker shrimp and throw that on top of the house salad, and you got your own like special creation.
That was
Bang, bang.
I missed I'm like I said, I miss getting out there and mingling with the different personality types. And I miss having those relationships that like we were able to build with like ourselves, obviously colleagues, clients, but like, the closeness, it's hard to find that with the way we've been working the last 5 years,
Yeah.
it's difficult to make a connection with just everybody being on webcams all the time. And so you got to take a minute to
Right.
get to know each other and listen. And again, to Emily's point, that's something I think we did a pretty decent job of on the road, going back to Miss KK, just listening and talking when it's appropriate and getting to know those folks out there while you're on the road.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, it was good times, but well, we have to have a reunion. We'll have to have a reunion show at some point.
Yeah, if I can find a way to slide out to Richmond, I certainly will.
Okay. Yeah, I be there. Tricia, I'm gonna fly to Richmond next week.
Let's do it.
Use some of those points.
I don't have any points left. I'm like, someone's gonna have to like
I don't either.
spend some points.
We flew down to Atlanta for free and got Comfort Plus and went and watched the Braves beat up on the Mets a couple of years ago. And that's the last time we've gone and taken a trip anywhere.
Yeah, it's
My daughter's looking for some first week in March. She took it off end of February. So I told her if worst comes to worst that I'll travel with her.
there you go.
Twist my arm.
Fun. Well, how about producer Ken? Is there any fun things that you can think that I used to come home with from the road? Seeing as though you were like 10, I think, when I started traveling.
I think I was even younger the first time you were traveling before all this.
Yeah.
You used to bring me back a baseball from each city, actually. I do remember
Aw.
that.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because there was one time in North Carolina when I was in Raleigh, I was like, God, I hope the airport has a baseball.
The Durham Bulls.
Yeah, the Durham Bulls. Hey, I went to the Richmond Flying Squirrels game.
Nice.
Yes.
That was the Braves farm system for quite a while. They used to be the Richmond Braves.
Yeah.
I don't know who they support anymore, but
I don't remember, but I love their mascot.
yeah, there's a lot of those AAA teams that have those fun names. Like the Gwinnett Stripers is one.
Nice.
There's all kinds of crazy. Jumbo Shrimp is one of them too. I think it's
Nice.
silly.
I don't know how you did it though, Emily. You traveled a lot more than we did though. I mean, I traveled, it was every 2 weeks and that was, perfect, but you were back to back to back, like 6 days a week. I mean, you flew out Sunday and I think you flew home sometimes Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
So that was a lot longer and more brutal and away from your young children and your husband and your household.
Yeah, they definitely had their own routine at home. I got in the way when I was there. 2019, I think it was 223 nights.
Yeah, I remember us all comparing our status. Okay, this is what I need for this. And I remember someone else from the company was like, well, that's only 3 more trips, with the legs and, this amount. It was just funny how we would, we were status snobs or something, whatever they call
It's
it.
like a badge of honor. That just shows how hard you're grinding out there on the road.
It's
On
true.
the streets.
Yeah,
It's true.
exactly. We earned those points.
The mean Delta streets, I agree.
Yeah.
When you can make your street
Lounge.
cred an actual, number.
That's right.
Right. Well, and everything for you was a connection. So that would double the points for Delta, double the legs. Yeah.
Yeah, they've changed all that now.
I heard. I know my Delta card. I'm gonna cancel. I think I'm not sure if it's the $500 one now. Now I can't even get into the Delta Club even if I wanted to. And so what am I spending $500 for a companion? And last year it went to waste. So
Yeah.
because you
that
couldn't use
Delta
it for
Lounge.
Mexico.
The Delta Lounge at gate B18 in Atlanta.
Yes.
Good old Atlanta. Best airport in the world.
The one thing that Mike didn't tell you about March 13th is after he got his bag, we went to the Delta Lounge. It's 5:00 in the morning and they would not serve us booze because we tried.
Yeah, right.
That's true.
I think it's like 9 or something.
Yeah, it was like 6.
I thought
8
time
o'clock,
didn't
8:00.
exist in airport lounges and bars.
Typically it doesn't, but the Delta Lounge was, it really had us not allowing
Heavy
it.
pour.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, thanks you guys for coming on. This was such a fun way to answer that question, and it's not just me and my perspective. I think it's funny that we came together at different points, but we ended up doing so much great work together. And I also think it's really fun that while we don't still work together day to day, some of the first people I call when there's something out there are the two of you. So,
Ditto.
yeah, I just appreciate that so much, and it's been great to have you. Have you enjoyed this? Is it fun?
Yeah, it's
Fun.
fun.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to have a special, like maybe Bo Bright. Maybe I can hire Brutal Pancake to do my In and Out song for the podcast.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I don't know. Would he be up to that?
I'm sure he would.
All right.
All the fun stuff.
We'll hire Bo. Ken, what do you think?
Oh, I think that's a good idea.
All right,
Yeah.
Mike, I'll put together a proposal for you tomorrow.
We'll have to get him some apple
He's the
juice, though.
experience in sound engineering. He's probably going to be a successful studio musician at some point. So the earlier the better.
Start him
All
young.
right. I can pay him in chicken
I'm
nuggets.
sorry. Oh yeah, he'd love that.
Perfect.
I was going to say sorry about y'all's respective football teams before
I know.
I ran the call. I wanted to say sorry. I was rooting for
I thought for sure it would be the
both.
Bills and the Lions in the Super Bowl.
And
Of course, the Bills would have won, but it's all right.
Do we?
would have been a better game than we got on Sunday. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to watch the game. As a matter of fact, Ken and my mother-in-law came over. We made wings and everything. We watched The Longest Yard with Adam Sandler.
Yeah, the remake version.
Yeah. And then I was like, okay, after it was over, I'm like, oh, what's the score? And the score was so bad for the Chiefs. I'm like, turn it on.
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
that was the only silver lining. Getting
Yeah.
to watch them lose.
yeah.
Way too early prediction for 2026 Super Bowl.
Yeah, I know. Bills, Lions in
The Bills and
2026.
the Lions.
There we go.
Love to see it.
Get your futures bets in now.
Yeah, why not? Oh, goodness. Well, thanks, you guys, for being on tonight. I really appreciate it. I hope you'll come back if I have more questions that get asked of me that I think you can help me answer. I really appreciate the support.
Sure, it's fun. Anytime.
All right, cool. All right, well, Producer Ken, thanks for being here tonight.
You got it.
Thanks, Producer
appreciate
Ken.
it. Any final thoughts you want to share, you guys?
Oh, thanks for having us.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a
good catching
wonderful
up.
friendship.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks, you guys. I appreciate it. And as always, thanks to Go Art. So I get my fancy microphone and our setup thanks to a wonderful community art center here in Batavia. I get a grant and they allow me to use the facility for free. So it's really a great showing of community support, and I appreciate it. And for everybody listening out there, I hope you enjoyed our little tales from the road. I definitely miss you guys. I miss traveling with you and all the fun we used to have. So I hope everyone has a great rest of their week, and we will talk to you later. Thank you.
Bye, guys. Send our best.
Bye.